It's awful. It's awful. It's just raining. It's been raining for days.
Huh?
Hi, Brent.
Hi there.
Hi, Chip.
Good morning.
Morning. Bon matin. I'm so happy. I finally found a mosquito that tortured me all night. Too bad I haven't found it earlier. This after one last bite on my arm, I've got it's too bad, really. Hello, Nancy. Oh, hi, Lynn. Your Royal Finnish Jacob Hurst.
I had the light on my desk in the wrong direction, so it wiped out the camera there for a minute. Good to see everybody.
That's what you use that for.
A very interesting name today, Lynn.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
My nephew is Jacob Hurst, and he was using it for a business Zoom call yesterday, and somehow I didn't notice that till just now. For some reason, it's checked in as him, but it's really me.
Okay. So you're royal today.
Morning. Morning, Sylvia. Morning.
Good morning.
Hi,
Morning,
Dan.
Chip. Morning, John. Both Johns.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Sue. Morning, Amanda.
Good morning.
Yeah, you want?
Good morning, all.
So maybe,
Oh, maybe
Guess
it
I
isn't
should
off.
shut off the music. Welcome to Meeting for Worship. Lynn Mills will be our worship leader this morning. Are there prayer concerns or things to be shared before we get started? Well, if not, again, I'd invite you to mute yourself so we don't get feedback. And when Lynn is ready, where she's known today, Royal Finnish Jacob Hurst, she will lead us in our worship.
As I've thought about what to share this week, the idea of shadows keeps coming to mind. In nature, of course, a shadow is cast when an object comes in front of the source of light. As children, we probably all played with our shadows at one point or another, or made shadow puppets on a wall or a screen. In psychology, a shadow is a part of ourselves that we repress, either because we don't like it or because we're ashamed of it. Oftentimes, though, what we deny in ourselves is what bugs us the most about somebody else. A part of maturing is coming to terms with those parts of ourselves that we don't like. In spiritual terms, I would describe that as allowing the light of God to shine into the dark corners of ourselves and bring healing. Groups have shadow sides too. The same process of allowing light to shine on our group shadow is needed to bring healing. That is what I think is happening in the United States today, and it's why I am hopeful rather than depressed. Healing cannot come without recognizing and acknowledging our shadow. A large part of the American shadow is racism. For way too many years, we've denied that it was there. As with us as individuals, it has been much easier to see the shadow in others than in ourselves. Think of how upset many Americans have been over apartheid in South Africa. But many of the same people who are upset about that would deny that America has a race problem. I've been doing a lot of reading and thinking about racism lately, as I know many of you have too. I was raised to believe that everyone is equal, that we are all children of God and worthy of love and respect. As an adult, I have chosen to believe those things. However, I am upset oftentimes by hearing the little voices in my head saying racist things when I'm out and about in the world. How often do I hold my purse a little tighter when I'm walking down the street and a Black man is coming toward me? Why am I more curious about a Black person driving down our street than I am a white person? There are no Black people that live on our street, and I know most of the vehicles of the other residents, but why do I make a bigger deal in my mind when I see a Black person on our street? As many of you know, my brother-in-law is Black. And for the nearly 40 years that he's been a member of our family, I have thought I was doing the right thing by not giving much thought to his color. I just love him because he's a great guy. Lately, though, I've begun to realize that that is racist too, because not seeing his color is denying an important part of who he is and of his life experience. I know that he's been the victim of suspicion merely because of his color, because my sister has told me. I know he has been questioned to see if he was involved in incidents merely because of the color of his skin and his proximity to the incident. On the other hand, I never stop to think when I enter a store what response I'm going to get from the people who work there. I don't worry about being followed in the store to make sure I don't shoplift. I don't worry about someone calling for security merely because I showed up. While I am anxious if I get stopped by the police, I am not worried that I'm going to die during the experience. I'm not much of a sports fan, but I have been greatly moved by the articles in the Indianapolis Star recently talking about the Colts players who are well known and respected when they are in uniform, but who are subject to the same racist attitudes as other Black people when they are out in the community without their Colts identity. Whether or not I want to admit it, I am privileged because of the color of my skin. So I said I was hopeful. What in the world did I mean by that? The place we are in finally feels like a window of opportunity to me. It feels like finally the unnecessary death of a Black person is going to force us to embrace our collective shadow and allow the light of God to bring healing to our country. It won't happen without a lot of work. But we as a country seem to be more open to that healing now than at most any other time in our history, or at least within my lifetime. 1968 may have been one of those windows too, but we didn't choose to walk through it. I was too young, though, at that point to really realize what that opportunity might have been. Parker Palmer, a well-known Quaker writer, writes in On the Brink of Everything, Grace, Gravity, and Getting Old. The framers of the Constitution gave us the first system of government I know of that regards conflict not as an enemy of the good social order, but as the engine of a better social order, if we hold our conflicts creatively. In a Facebook post, he continues, I feel hope rising among us right now, not in spite of the civil unrest, but because of the civil unrest, which can serve as that engine of a better social order. Huge crowds that reflect the creative potentials of this country's diversity have gathered in the streets to demand that we finally live up to the truths we claim to hold 244 years after we made that claim. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. He goes on, I feel hopeful that we can choose that different path because so many of us are now holding the tension of America's broken promise. For us. I like to picture myself as a channel of God's light coming into our dark world. While sometimes praying doesn't seem like enough, what better way to heal our dark places than by allowing God's light to shine. Another thing we can do is to educate ourselves. I have just finished reading a book called Bias, Uncovering the Hidden Prejudice That Shapes What We See, Think, and Do by Jennifer Eberhardt, that explains how we all are biased and how we got that way. I'm also reading I Bring the Voices of My People, A Womanist Vision of Racial Reconciliation by Shaniqua Walker Barnes, that discusses how Black women's voices are totally left out of most faith-based discussions of racial reconciliation. I can give you a list of other books on the subject of racism too, if you'd like. My personal reading list is quite long. We can participate in groups that are actively working toward healing the racial divide. First Friends has started a group consisting of representatives of all the peace churches, Mennonites, Brethren, and Quakers in the Indianapolis area to work on this issue. I have attended parts of 2 Zoom meetings to organize this group, and I have signed up to participate. And I will do so either on my own or as a representative of West Newton. There are probably as many ways to participate in the mighty river of hope as there are members and attenders of West Newton. The ones I've listed are just suggestions. As we enter open worship, what are the shadows you see in yourself? What are the places in yourself that need healing? What shadows do you see in the world? What are you concerned about? And what are you hopeful about? To close, I'd like to share a reading from Victoria Safford, a minister at the White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church in Minnesota, entitled Hope. Our mission is to plant ourselves at the gates of hope, not the prudent gates of optimism, which are somewhat narrower, nor the stalwart, boring gates of common sense, nor the strident gates of self-righteousness, which creak on shrill and angry hinges. People cannot hear us there. They cannot pass through. Nor the cheerful, flimsy garden gate of everything's gonna be all right, but a very different, sometimes very lonely place, the place of truth-telling about your own soul, first of all, and its condition, the place of resistance and defiance, the piece of ground from which you see the world, both as it is and as it could be, as it might be, as it will be. The place from which you glimpse not only struggle, but joy of the struggle. And we stand there, beckoning and calling, telling people what we are seeing, asking people what they see.
Friends, as we come to the close of our time together, is there anything that folks would like to say before we end? Wanda, you'll have to unmute.
I'd like you to keep my nieces in your prayers. My sister Evelyn adopted 2 Black girls from Chicago, and they're now both graduated from college. And the older one is going down to Houston, and the other one is going to somewhere in Missouri. And they grew up in our family, and they grew up in Iowa. And while there was racism in Iowa, it's not going to be anything like they're going to find down in Houston and Missouri. So please keep them in your prayers.
I just found out yesterday that a neighbor across the street has COVID and is in the hospital. He apparently is doing okay. And so please keep him in your prayers.
Well, as we end, let's continue to hold these things that have been brought and other things in our hearts. Lynn, thank you for your prophetic message. Much to think about. May God bless us, everyone, as Tiny Tim says, and all the others as well. I hope to see you all next week. Same time, same channel. Bye.